Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and today we're going to do the sparkle dun. Now, this fly is a no hackle fly. It's a dry fly, and it really is an emerger type of pattern. It's meant to sit low, and the typical way we would fish a sparkle dun or any kind of no hackle fly is we'd fish it on those slow glides where fish get a long look at our flies. So as a consequence, you want a fly that is pretty minimal, that's not going to have too many features that you need for faster water. So the heavy hackling we might put on some dry flies, for example, might be a turnoff for fish in slower water. That's where the no hackle fly comes in. So let's get going and looking at the materials in the sparkle dun. We're going to be using a Tiemco 200R in a size 16. Now, you could use a straight hook. In fact, if you look at the Fly Tying Bible book, you'll see they're using a straight hook. If we're going to go emerger, I like a curve in my hooks. I like that tail to hang down. My thread is this lovely Vivus olive. Our tail is white antron. We're going to use olive antron dubbing. And the wing is deer hair. So let's get going. Now I'm going to bring the thread back to the hook point, and then I'm going to come forward again. I'll stop it just a little bit shy of the eye of the hook. Now, there's a reason for this. I'm going to be tying on deer hair, and when you tie on deer hair, there's a danger it will spin. If you cover your hook shank with thread, it's not as likely to spin. If you tie it on bare metal, it'll spin very easily, and we do not want this one to spin. So let's get the deer hair in. Now, something else I'm going to do is normally when I handle a deer hair stacker like this one, is I take the hair out with my left hand. Now, if I was to do that with this fly, I have the tips pointed in the wrong direction, so I have to transfer hands. And often, if we don't think about this ahead of time and we're transferring material between our hands, that's when things get screwed up. So I'm going to reverse what I normally do and take the wing out with my right hand. Now the tips are aligned in the right direction. And you can see this is a pretty small clump. There's not much to this. You don't want a big clump on this fly. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pull up like that, a very soft wrap. I'm just going to pull about where I want it. Another soft wrap. Now I'm going to come in tighter. I'm going to go about halfway back. You notice I haven't let go of the deer hair. That's important. Trim that off. Now bind down that bit. Now I'm just going to put in my antron tail. Again, keeping it on top. Let's wind it down. And we're going to trim off about the length of the body. We're going to keep this tail. It represents the shuck. And now I'm going to trim off the antron. Now I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to work this in together. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a ramp here for my dubbing so I don't have a step in the body. And I get a bit of a taper going too, so I can bring some thread up here and help build up a bit of a taper. Now bring your thread right to the back. And now for the dubbing. If you see your dubbing rope getting a little slack, just put a couple more twists in it. Just a little bit more. Now, that's the back end of the body done. Now you're going to see what we're going to do with the deer hair. And you notice that's twisted. As I was saying before, it's easy to have your deer hair spin on you. So we're going to put some more dubbing on. And with my left hand, I'm going to pull the deer hair out of the way, and I'm going to build up the dubbing right behind the wing. Now, in front of the wing, I should say. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread that wing out. And finally, we can whip finish. Okay, there's our sparkle done. Now, if your wing is not quite spread out enough, just tease it out. There we go. You want sort of a fan effect. You know, like a woman's fan that you spread open. Because what happens is this deer hair is what keeps this fly afloat. And if your deer hair, if you have inadequate deer hair or it's sticking up too much, it won't work. I'm just going to get rid of this little bit here at the back. There we go. The sparkle done. Simple pattern, easy to tie. The deer hair can be a little bit fussy if it starts to spin on you or if you put too much. You know, you've got to keep this fairly minimal. And it will sit very low in the water. The tail looks like the shock. It's meant to imitate mayfly. It's got almost all the way out, but not quite. And you can do it in a variety of colors. I mean, they recommend olive in the book, but the reality is you could do it in Hendrickson pink or gray or anything like that and have an effective pattern. Especially, I'd be looking at imitating mayflies that are known to come off in slower water. That's where this becomes more valuable, rather than just go out and say, oh, I'm just going to do this kind of bug. And then you go out and find out it only comes off in fast water and this thing is no use to you, it sinks. So keep that in mind, that if you're going to fish no hackle flies, they should be representing mayflies that typically will come off in slower water. So keep that in mind. Cheers.